he makes it really hard to like him. If you, especially if you never
I
seen him.
personally hate him, so yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I don't personally hate him. But yeah, no, like I don't know what else to say. Like it is his fault. Like I can imagine that being really, really.
I think it's pretty easy to like my content when you watch it. This is why I say over and over again. Yeah, like again, there's a weird thing that happens in translation here where, and then it's frustrating because I feel like people should know better. But there's a weird thing that'll happen where I will say, this will be my content, okay? I do nice conversations. We'll do like boring reading research. We'll do like crazy fiery argumentation. We just watch like random YouTube videos and do whatever. I might go do like real life debates. Some of them might be okay. Some of them might be like pretty fiery. Generally my real life things, right? So this will be like the totality of content over here is like what I'm doing. And then somebody will come out, if it's somebody who doesn't like me, somebody will come out and they will clip like, they'll clip this. They'll clip like the worst part of like this conversation and like the worst part of this conversation, okay? So they'll clip these two things and then this will be what they show on their content, right? So whether Hassan is covering me, whether it's a TikTok compilation of arguments people don't like about me, whatever, this will be what they show, okay? And then I'll have people over here. So Wicked Supreme is representing this argument, right? I'll have people over here. So it'll be this, and then it'll be like this. And then I'll have people over here, and they'll say things like, yeah, you know, Destiny is like incredibly divisive. Like he is a very hard person to like. He's like very combative, blah, 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 blah. But they're responding to this. And I'm like, I mean, it wouldn't bother me as much if they're like, the representations that are made of Destiny's content can make him really hard for an outside person to like, because that is true. Depending on what you've seen of me from you can have some wildly different opinions about me. But I think if you watch anything in totality, and I'm not even saying like you have to watch like a 9-hour stream, it's like if you just watch like a full video that I do for a debate or a full whatever, it's pretty hard to come away thinking that like, oh, this guy is like an unhinged, unreasonable, crazy lunatic, you know? Yeah, that's the fact that people will look at this content and be like, oh yeah, like he doesn't do himself any favors. It's like, oh, okay, Chief. Why do you think most people see you as unhinged then? I don't know if most people see me as unhinged. This is also like another meme that I'm no longer playing into, and I try not to, because I realize that it has like brain broken people. It happens a lot over like the burnt bridges stuff. Like they're like, oh, Destiny's a bridge burner. Not really. Not any more than any other online content creator. Like most people move through, one is, well, most content creators aren't quote unquote bridge burners because they only last for like 2 to 4 years, right? And then they come, they're popular, and then they're gone. They don't have the opportunity to burn bridges. Secondly, for people that have lasted like a long time, yeah, there's a lot of people that come and go. There's a lot of people that come in and out of content. That just happens. Also, I do have like friends or other content creators that I've done, you know, content with for a long time. But obviously, yeah, there are other fiery people that come and go. That's one aspect. And then the second aspect is that like, the reason why there are some people that don't like me has more to do with my political opinions than my behavior. As much as people might want to accept that or not accept it, at this point, I know that is fundamentally 1,000,000% true. You can see it actually perfectly displayed in the Finkelstein conversation, right? Like, I think that another reason I'm so happy, as time has gone on, I'm more and more happy with how that went. The Finkelstein conversation is just the perfect demonstration of my opponent really can do anything and get credit as being like an amazing, awesome person and debater. And I really can't do anything without having people me for it. At least if you're already politically poised against me, because there is no fucking way that a person goes into and watches that conversation and is like, wow, this Destiny guy was like really unqualified and unhinged to be here. When Finkelstein is like screaming at me like the entire fucking time. Yeah.
Really frustrating, but it is his fault. It's 100% his fault.
Like this 100% his fault is it's just incorrect, or it's an incredibly naive analysis. I don't know if anybody is like 100% responsible for their online things, because it's so much of it can be out of your hands depending on the other communities that you're dealing with. With the exception of like if you're making like if you rape somebody, right, or so you do like an actual like crazy unhinged thing, sure.
His temper because he lashes out at people, because he gets vicious and goes hard on people. Like
no, that's not. So you can make like a.
Oh God, I hate Gisticle because Gisticle's just a person I just want to hate. Okay, but he, for whatever fucking reason, he understands me pretty well. I think he understands most of my frustrations really well. This thing happens too, and Wicked is also following into this trap of somebody will do like cuck, divorce forever, reads Wikipedia, motor mouth, amphetamine, lips, whatever, blah blah blah, over and over and over again. Okay, and then at some point, like it'll be like fuck you. Like I'll have a moment where I probably shouldn't, but like I do. I just get irritated, and then all these people, and then people will have a response to that. And then again, you have like these people in the silence, like, well, yeah, of course everybody's mad, Destiny. Like, well, you did this. well, you did that. Like, of course people are mad. Like, this is why they're mad at you. They're mad because of this. They're saying these things because of this. Like, no, motherfucker. They've been saying these things for fucking months or years beforehand. What are you talking about? All of a sudden, like, my outbreak here or my outburst here becomes the focal point of like, oh, well, this is why everybody's mad. It's like, wait, did they come from the future? Like when they were over here and getting upset at me? What? It's literally crazy making a little bit. Yeah. I was like, wait, what do you mean? How were they? What? No, this kind of talk was already happening before I even had my little fucking moment. Okay. Yeah. But don't you think the conclusion of people dislike me because of my politics is an easy trap to fall into? I'm not saying it's not true, but don't you think it's an easy explanation that you end up instead of more complicated? Yeah, true. But unfortunately, like there's a lot of unique analyses that I have to apply to my life because I live an exceptional life. Like everything I do is like very like out of the ordinary, right? Like imagine I go to a therapist or something and I'm like, I have a really big problem because I feel like people are thinking about me negatively and just like talking about me negatively all the time. Like the answer, I've even given this advice to you guys. The answer is like people wouldn't care. People wouldn't worry about what other people think about them if they realize how seldom they do. That's like a common saying, right? Like nobody's actually thinking about you. Like if you accidentally trip over something or whatever, nobody's like actually thinking about this like past for 20 seconds. But that's not true in my life, right? People will be making threads on it and then talking about it and then it'll get archived somewhere forever and then it'll be right. It's a completely and totally different existence that in some ways runs counterintuitive or contrary to the ordinary human experience in every way, size, shape, or form. So it is weird. This is actually funny. It's funny because this is one of the things that I said about Kanye West, where for Kanye, like any ordinary person that has like these delusional thoughts about how important they are or their place in the world or if God's communicating with them or whatever bullshit, I'd say like, well, obviously you're delusional, but what if you are indeed the most popular entertainer in the world, the wealthiest black man in the history of all the world? Somebody like, well, if you're Kanye West at that point, like, I don't know how you don't get like crazy, right? Because you literally do live an exceptional life. You have exceptional status. Like, yeah. Or I was going to even say like, after I had my huge mushroom trip and I had panic attacks for that following year a little bit, and I would dissociate after the panic attacks. One of the, I don't know if it's dissociation or derealization, I don't know what you call it here, but like sitting in and feeling like everything around me is like a little bit not real or a little bit strange. Or if I'm at the peak of like a trip for LSD, weed, or mushrooms, one of the things that with me and makes me feel like things aren't real is that when I start to think of my life, it really does seem kind of unbelievable. Like, okay, well, I sit in front of a computer and I talk and I think 10,000 people watch me and then they also give money for me to just give my opinions. Like all of it is very difficult to, at least when I want a drug-induced psychotic whatever, it's hard to sort out because it is exceptional. I think I can say that. I think I've earned the right to say that. I'm also fighting against something where you have the, you've got the, there's pros and cons to everything. Whenever I think of cons to things, there's also pros. I usually try to get both. There's pros and cons to everything. So like I technically do like 2 or 3 like full-time jobs. I stream, and then I also do like the debates and the research and then the traveling to do debates and events and everything, right? So there's a lot of different hats that I wear. In some ways, it gives me the benefit of always putting out content. So I'm always staying somewhat relevant and I'm able to move past drama pretty easily because I just keep streaming, keep doing shit. But then the negative is that there's so much material to select from. So this idea that like, oh yeah, like Destiny is like doing these, you know, he's destroying himself when he does these things. And it's like, okay, well, some of the most popular attacks right now are gripers cutting parts of my research streams out that are getting amplified by socialists that hate me on the internet that make it into like Joe Rogan mainstream popularity. Like, was any of that my fault? I don't think so. I don't think I even necessarily did anything wrong there. I'm trying to think, actually, I think for most of the attacks against me, I don't even think most of the attacks against me are about like unhinged things. Like probably the closest one would have been like the pro-genocide comment, I guess. But like, I mean, even that, I mean, those guru guys were able to watch the clip for 10 more seconds. They're like, oh, it's a pretty reasonable explanation. Now you can argue like, oh, you should never be hyperbolic ever, but that's boring. And then don't pretend that like, oh, well, it's your fault that somebody clipped the 15 seconds of this when it's like, okay, I mean, it's the other person's creating the content at that point, but yeah, I don't know.
He's been an asshole to other people and people are aware of him having been an asshole before, so they're willing to believe. It's sort of like the Trump thing.
Okay. And then even this, yeah, this is another reason why I'm fighting a bit more publicly with people now. And unfortunately, as much as I hate it and as much of a time sink it is, it's probably worth it to do it going forward, is to point out how unhinged people are. Is there's this idea that like all of my attacks are unprovoked. I think that part of this, not all of it, but part of this has been me trying to high road a little bit and not like paying attention to every small stupid attack and just like, you know, just whatever. Actually, like a really good example of this was when that cheese ball or the slime machine guy made that comment about me on Ludwig's The Yard podcast, and I just saw it and I was like, whatever, and I just like moved on. My policy of trying to do that over the years has probably bit me a bit in the ass, because then when I do like have a blow up moment, I'm like, these fucking people, like, fuck you. Everybody's like, why are you so mad? Like, why are you so unhinged? Like, you're doing this to yourself. And it's like, bro, these people have been, yeah. Oh, the reason why I bring that up, I'm sorry. The reason why I bring that up is because like, honest to God, it sounds like a meme because of how I engage aggressively in debates. But I would say that I am one of the nicest people in the scene. I pay every single person that works for me well. I've never f***ed somebody over on a deal ever. Like I've shared contacts, opportunities, like Lily's like editor, Garrett, like connecting. If anybody knows me behind the scenes in any part of like the content creation world, they will always have good things to say about me. With the exception, I guess, if I run into somebody at an event and I say hi and I leave quickly because I'm like going to some place, be like, oh, whatever. Like, I don't know if I've ever had a negative interaction behind the scenes with another content creator or influencer. I just don't think it's ever happened. I'm incredibly polite. I usually take care of my own shit. I don't like ask people for anything. Like I usually provide if people need whatever. Yeah. So the idea that like, oh, like Dusty's an asshole to everybody, like that's a fabric. To some extent, I am a little responsible for that because I guess I've let that meme kind of like burn through my community so much. But generally speaking, like anybody that has interacted with me in real life usually will only have positive things about me, generally. Like even the guy that tried to roast me about my green room conduct, that guy, when he said I was rude to him, his example of me being rude was that I looked up, I said hi to him, and then I shook his hand, and then I went back to like doing my reading. Like that was his example. That's me being rude, okay? But yeah.